থিওরি অফ কনজিউমার বিহেভিয়ার ডিফাইন ইউটিলিটি ইউটিলিটি বলার অর্থ কী utility refers to the psychological satisfaction that a person derived from the consumption of a particular commodity ইউটিলিটি বলার অর্থ হচ্ছে সাইকোলজিক্যাল স্যাটিসফ্যাকশন মনের দিক থেকে সন্তুষ্টি পাওয়া যাবে যখন কোনো জিনিস বা কোনো কমোডিটি ব্যবহার করার পর সেটার থেকে আমরা আনন্দ উপভোগ করবো সেই আনন্দটাকে বলা হয় ইউটিলিটি What is budget set for a consumer? The set of bundles available to the consumer is called budget set. What is budget line? Budget line represents all bundles of two goods which a consumer can buy with his entire income and given prices of the goods. What is an indifference curve? An indifference curve is a curve that shows all combinations of two goods that gives equal satisfaction to the consumer. Why does an indifference curve slope downward? It follows that if a consumer wants to have more quantity of a commodity, say X, he will have to give up some quantity of the other commodity, say Y, in order to derive the same level of satisfaction. If a consumer could have more of one commodity without a corresponding fall in another commodity, he would have achieved a higher level of satisfaction. So, an increase in the amount of good X along the indifference curve is associated with a decrease in the amount of good Y. Hence, indifference curve is downward sloping. What does the rationality of a consumer indicate? The consumer is assumed to be rational given his income and the market prices of the commodities. He plans his expenditure so as to attain the highest possible satisfaction. Fill in the blanks. In economics, it is generally assumed that the consumer is a dash individual. Answer rational. What does an indifference map indicate? The consumer preferences over all the combinations can be represented by a family of indifference curve, which is called an indifference map. An indifference map shows all the indifference curves which rank the preferences of the consumer. Bundles of goods lying on a higher indifference curve yield higher level of satisfaction and are preferred. On the other hand, bundles on a lower indifference curve yield a lower satisfaction. This can be shown by the following diagram. What is the slope of the budget line? Budget line in a negative sloping. What is monotonic preference of a consumer? Monotonic preference means that between any two bundles, the consumer prefers the bundles which has more of at least one of the goods and no less of the other goods as compared to the other bundle. What is a budget line? Why does it slope downward? The budget line represents all bundles which cost the consumer his or her entire income. The budget line is negatively sloping. If the consumer wants to consume an extra unit of good one, he will have to give up some amount of good too. The budget set consists of all combinations on or below the straight line. The decreasing rate of MRS XY is the main cause of the downward sloping budget line. What is normal goods? A normal goods may be defined as the goods whose demands increases with increase in income and demand decreases with decrease in income. নর্মাল গুড বলার অর্থ হচ্ছে নর্মাল গুড সেই ধরনের গুড যখন তার ডিমান্ড ইনক্রিজ হয় তার সাথে দামও ইনক্রিজ হয়, তার যখন ডিমান্ড কমে যায় তখন তার সাথে দামও কমে যায়। ইন আদার ওয়ার্ডস, অল গুডস হুজ ইনকাম ইফেক্ট ইজ পজিটিভ and price effect is negative and normal goods. What is inferior goods? An inferior goods may be defined as the good goods whose demand increase with decrease in income and demand decreases with increase in income. Indifference curve normal curve opposite, যদি ডিমান্ড ইনক্রিজ হয় তাহলে দাম কমবে এবং ডিমান্ড কমলে দাম বাড়বে। ইন আদার ওয়ার্ডস, অল গুডস হুজ ইনকাম ইফেক্ট ইজ নেগেটিভ আর ইনফিরিয়র গুড। ফর এক্সাম্পল, ডালডা, ঘি, চিপার ভেজিটেবল অয়েল। বলার অর্থ, যদি ঘির দাম যদি বেড়ে যায় তখন মানুষ ঘি ছাড়া ডালডা দিয়ে কাজ চালাতে পারে, আর যখন ঘির দাম কমে যায় তখন ডালডা ছেড়ে মানুষ ঘি দিয়ে কাজ চালাতে পারবে। ডিফাইন কমপ্লিমেন্টারি গুডস, গিভ এক্সাম্পলস। Complementary goods may be defined as the goods which are used together to satisfy a given want. কমপ্লিমেন্টারি গুডস বলা তো পূরক, যে এমন ধরনের গুডস যেটা একসাথে কোনো জিনিসের চাহিদা পূরণ করে। যেরকম চা যখন বানানো হয় তখন তার সাথে চা পাতা, দুধ, চিনি সবগুলো মিলে বনে। ফর এক্সাম্পল, টি, সুগার, মিল্ক। 2 নম্বর, কার অ্যান্ড পেট্রোল। 3rd, pen and ink. Define price elasticity of demand. Price elasticity of demand is a measure of the responsiveness of the demand for a good to change in its price. Price elasticity of demand for a good is defined as the percentage change in demand for the good divided by the percentage change in its price. Price elasticity of demand for a good, ED, equal to percentage change in demand for the good by percentage change in the price of the good, equal to. What is a demand curve? What does it indicate? Demand curve is a curve which slopes different quantities demanded of a commodity corresponding to its different price. It indicates inverse relationship between the price and quantities demanded. What is given goods? The given goods are those goods in case of which demand decreases even when income of the household increases.